Saturday, August 3rd, 2019. Upward channel meets resistance line. Which way is it going to go? Let's jump in and see what our indicators are telling us on today's episode of the 24 Hours of Bitcoin. A quick look at the disclaimer before we jump in and take a look at the charts. You can pause the video to read through those details. Here we're looking at the parallel channel moving upward towards our major resistance line. Really a strong support and resistance line right there that we're coming up to. If we do go up on the stairs and down on the elevator, are we coming up to a place where we're going to bump and see a sharp drop down? Or are we going to jump right through? Our indicators should be giving us some inside view. When we're looking at a review, what I was looking at yesterday, I was anticipating prices would come down to 10,200 before bouncing and going up, but they didn't. They pulled back a little bit further and then drove up from here, and so I'm thinking our indicator set should have, the video wasn't live at this time, but at that moment, our indicator set should have shown us a divergence that was bullish. Right as prices were coming back, we should have seen things set up that would have verified this takeoff here. And if that's the case, we should be seeing a divergence to the positive here right now in the chart. And this is the 5-minute view. As we're coming up to breaking out and going higher, this would be really key if we're coming out of this with volume. I also want to observe here, we have the Bitcoin longs and the shorts. Shorts are still laying flat and haven't increased. Longs are going up a little bit, but remember, longs were at their highest on the 10th of July, right here, just as we topped and we were coming down. So that longs are going up may not mean that prices are going to keep going up. So now let's jump into our indicators and see what they're telling us. So here we are with looking at the RSI on the weekly view. We've been watching for it to come down and make a pointed spike and go back up, though I was anticipating that it would be off of this trend line and that it would come down a bit deeper yet. It hasn't. It did its bounce and it's giving us a nice sharp angle. So what I want to pay attention to here now is the specific number. Let's say it out loud because I'm auditory, but right across these levels here, what is this, 6643 or 67 basically? Let's continue watching to see if this is continuing up past this level or pulling back, because most of the time the RSI will bounce off and then really it just makes a straight line up. Here we got a couple zigzags as we were going up. So let's see what was going on in the chart in that time. The zigzags was earlier in the uptrend and closer to how we bounced right now. All right, so that zigzag sort of went sideways, but prices continued to go up sharply. And then we had our divergence in the weekly RSI. Let's jump into the daily now and see what's going on here. Make sure that I'm in the right frame. All right, so the RSI was giving us this bullish shoe as it was just pulling up off of this as we were making this. Now it's like the RSI and the daily has still got lots of room to go up. This is not at all coming to an overbought condition. In fact, it's still very much in the middle, and breaking above these levels has been always the start of a big surge. So breaking above these levels as we're taking off here is the start of a big surge, according to the daily RSI right here. Cool. Now, we've already seen it break above in the 12-hour time frame. It is made of basically a 1, 2, 3 bottom formation here in the RSI and then broken above and gone higher while we're breaking out. Looks pretty bullish to me. What are we on now? The 12-hour. Let's zoom in to the 4-hour time frame, and now I'm looking for any kind of divergence right at this tip. Since we're coming up to such important support and resistance, so far it's all looking bullish. It's looking crazy bullish. And when we're looking at the 4-hour time frame, we do see that it's overbought, same levels as prices are going up. But let's zoom into a closer time frame to see what it's telling us. 1 hour time frame. So there is a bit of a divergence here. Is it significant that we have higher highs and lower RSI, and that we've got a flat top and lower RSI? Only time will tell, but we'll watch how this plays out in these specifics. If this continues to go higher, so will price. 1 hour time frame, that's pretty zoomed in. That's pretty 15-minute time frame, also very zoomed in. We do have the divergence, flat top, on its way down, but it broke. It didn't keep that divergence going. So that puts it into question again, and actually then we'd have to change that trend line. Now the big thing is volume. If it is matched with volume, we've got a golden setup. And we can see here that the volume to me is picking up from where it was last week. Let's clear this chart. So we got on balance volumes picking up now. I don't pay attention to the numbers along the side so much, but they are good reference points. And we can see, even just looking at prior highs, that now if we're watching next week for this to be continuing stronger, it's just going to keep blasting up. If this ticks up higher, we're going. And in the 1 hour time frame, I remember the last while we've been watching this being negative on this shoulder, and considering that, thinking that since we have negative on balance volume, we have this divergence here, that this is going to be going down from here. This is what that looked like. But now that on the daily, it's turned around and we're giving positive on balance volume on the right-hand side of this chart, changes that whole perception. Especially when we start zooming into the 12-hour now, this again is really maturing with more volume. And this has just been the last few days. Just this, as soon as it ticked up off of this corner here, then we have the volume coming in. There was no confirmation across here for us to know in advance. Not from the unbalanced volume anyway. But look, that's looking great. It looks like this candle is just going to go straight up actually. Zoom into the 1 month view, so we're on the 4 hour time frame, building volume. So yeah, it seems like it's going to be going. Then we have good volume, and it petered off here. So we've got higher highs and lower volume along. So the volume isn't predictive. It comes in like we just saw that turn right now as I'm talking. That just turned to green right there. So if it is green, and we are below 0 and it turns green going positive, that's really good. That's very bullish. Right off this thing on the 1 hour time frame. 15-minute time frame. We got some selling, we got less selling. We could just sit here and watch this as it broke out and we saw this tick up in volume. It's like confirms the add-on signal or the buy signal. And then you got to have your risk control rules on sharp, because every time it's breaking out, we're having manipulation just to get people who are putting on too large of leverage with their stop loss too close. And then the market continues to go up. So this is just manipulation to get those people who are not trading correctly with risk control rules. And we could get that over and over again, just to whipsaw people all the way along. It's good money. Now going on to the weekly view of the MACD. The MACD has been easing off on the weekly here, but easing off less this last week. It's not dropping as quickly. And the important thing with this as a trend is to watch for it coming down and not going negative, but going back positive, as it didn't cross and went and continued up. This is confirming for us that the bull trend is continuing. So if we see next week that this histogram ticks up, we know that it's got huge potential behind it, and we're probably going to be hitting $30,000 sooner than later. Now, the other alternative is that when we zoom into the daily time frame, is that we could have something similar to what we saw back here. We are just crossing over. It is looking good, but so was it back here. Drag this where I can see it. It was looking good here too. It spiked right up, and then we had some hammer on the way down. So what we'll watch for now is, it's good that it's crossing positive, but now if it crosses negative, if this histogram does what it did in the past, we've got our strategy in advance. We know that we'll be watching for that top in here. We'll be watching for those divergences and our indicators for the short sell signal. Not right now though. Let's zoom in on this. Actually, I want to see the chart this itself so that I can take a look at the histograms and how strong they are growing right now. For this to turn around and do what we saw earlier, it's going to have to go flat histogram, and then the histograms have to pull back and go negative for this to come back and cross over. So this is going to be key to be watching all the way through the next week or two as these episodes unfold. On the daily time frame, on the 12-hour time frame, we have already across, this was bullish, we've been seeing as we are coming across this 1 2 3 bottom formation setup. It's coming to break out of that 1 2 3 bottom with the exponential moving average on the 12-hour time frame crossing over. That is very bullish. That is hugely bullish, especially when we have this cross and this cross going up and the histograms going positive. Really great crossover, looking like strength right here. Now, as we get into the closer time frame, we're looking to see if we're going to observe any divergences here that may mean a pullback. So we're looking at the 4-hour time frame. Zoom into the 1-hour time frame. And this is what I'm wanting to see is, how is this behaving? Are we getting crosses overs to the negative more, or is it still crossing positive? Right now, I'm seeing this indicator is still in an uptrend. We have higher lows all the way along. It is easing off a bit as prices are going up strong. And we are coming to the point here. So it is a time to really be wary and close with your observation here, depending on your entry and all. Now let's zoom in more. It is crossing to the negative. It's not giving me enough for this to be a signal. What is this now? The 15-minute time frame crossing to the positive, actually, twice. So we have a cross to the positive and a stronger cross to the positive while we have this bouncing up. So that cross to the positive, it looks like we are going to be taking off. So nothing that I've gone through here so far today has given me a feel that this is going to crack and come down. So if it does, then I'm going to shoot a separate episode to follow along with what the indicators are doing, because they're not giving me that feel right now. It feels like everything's building and it's going to go up higher from here. And let's see what the Ichimoku cloud says. On the weekly time frame, of course, this gives us lots of room for it to come back. It's crossed to the positive. We still have a positive cloud, nothing negative here. And the 1 year view, so we're looking at the daily, had crossed to the negative. The blue line crossed below the red line here. They're quite far apart. Usually they like to come back closer together, so that the blue line is coming up is okay, supporting it, but we still have a red cloud over on the end. So it's not giving us a buy signal here at all in the daily view. In the 12-hour view, it's just crossed to the positive here. We're still inside the cloud, so it's not a buy signal on the 12-hour time frame either. It needs to go up above the cloud, and it needs to twist positive for that to be a real continuation buy signal. In fact, from here, if it shows weakness and this crosses back negative, this would be a sell signal spot in the downtrend for the Ichimoku cloud on this time frame. Now, when we look at the 4-hour time frame, this did give us a cross to the positive earlier. So that the trading signal is not there in the 12-hour time frame, but it's already past us in the 4-hour time frame. It crossed over here. It's going up through the cloud. Things have twisted to the positive, and the trailing line here is nice and wide, indicating to me that it's probably going to be going up more. Hey James, good to have you along. I know it's Bitcoin is I don't care what it is. I'm just trading the formations so that I can earn profit off it. The technology is good, but sure, whatever. I think the killer app for Bitcoin is that people can micro trade so that you can get the average Joe starting to practice the habits that the rich people already have with money. The rich people don't work for money. They make money work for them. They have assets that work for them. They don't have a job. Their assets bring in the money they need to pay for their living expenses. And so now this is a chance for the little guy to start practicing what the big guys are already doing in a micro scale that we have assets to be able to do. And as you're building this and building this and building this, this is a micro opportunity for everybody anywhere who has an internet connection to start trading. And you can do it on such a small scale. I started off with just tips, putting it into altcoins and following these patterns and built it up and built it up. And so that's why I'm so crazy about this stuff, is I've seen what it can do for just a normal guy's finances who is struggling with finances just by learning these methods and using them. Make this money work for you. So it doesn't matter if the technology is good or bad. We're looking on the price swings so that we can use our trading techniques to do what the rich people are already doing. That's the killer app for Bitcoin for me. Now that was a little bit of a distraction. Let me go on with the show. Let's go on. So this is Bitcoin dominance over the long term, and we're coming up to some incredibly important support and resistance levels. And then I started watching these indicators. Come on, are they going to tell me something about this chart as like it would with a price chart? And I started using RSI, on balance volume, or checking out this chart with all the indicators I could. And you can see here with the RSI on, what is this? The daily time frame is giving us 3 lower highs. Let me see. Alrighty. 3 lower highs. And we're coming up to a double top right now. So I'm hoping that Bitcoin dominance is going to crack and fail from here. It is so overbought. And if it does crack and fail, then the altcoins are going to be taking off. This is the measure of the altcoins taking off as this is falling, even if Bitcoin prices are going up. So I want to zoom in on this, and then we'll wrap up this episode. That always takes a while to load. Before I go, I want to go over the August Patreon Bull Market Watch spreadsheet that AOL Chandra and I worked together and updated this morning. You can see here that we've gone to a majorly more bearish stance in all of the altcoins. All of our neutral coins dropped off big time, and they all turned back into fail and near fail coins. And it happened big time. We go over to Poloniex, we can see that we went from 11 fails to 20. We're pretty much the same for near fails. And neutral coins were up to 19, now they're down to 9. So that really sets us back in the altcoins taking off. But these bottom formations are very close, and we'll be watching them carefully. If we go over to Binance, we can see that it's even more dramatic. We went from 59 to 72 markets in fail status. We're pretty steady in the near fails, but most of those had a bunch of the neutral markets move back into near fail status, and a bunch of the near fail go back into fail status. So overall, the altcoins are splitting themselves so that we can see that there are 25 markets now that are likely to be the first of the markets of the altcoin wave to go. And then we're going to have a second or a third wave of altcoins. The ones that are suffering most, they'll make the next wave of the altcoins when that altcoin bull market finally goes. Now, if you're interested in watching along with what we're doing with the altcoin trading, we have a pro package that right now is being beta. We're having our alerts notifications beta tested on this blog here so that we can watch the spreadsheet to be sure that it's working correctly for our entries and our exits. And you can see here that the stop loss for Litecoin has been reached, and it gives us the time, the entry, the exits, our original chart for starting out the trade. A huge amount of information here available in our beta launch, so you can come over and start watching, follow along with this blog, follow through all of these tag surfs so that you can check out what we've been doing with our trades in each of these different markets, or follow along on Twitter at Intro to Cryptos. And there are links in the description down below. Let's jump back into Bitcoin, zoom into the close time frame, and watch what's happening here, because this is where the decisions are going to be made now. If we go into the 5-minute view and we're watching what prices are doing, this is where I want to see the indicators unfold. As this moves higher, or if it breaks lower, then I want to observe the indicators, zoom it out, observe this indicator, see where these crossovers happened as we're going higher highs and we're getting lower crossovers here, or which one is dominant, right? We've got the lower highs here and we've got the higher lows here. Which one is dominant? I'm thinking that this will be dominant and it'll go up from here. But if it crosses and we go to a negative histogram, there's the answer, and we know which one is dominant. And it gives us a very close, tight channel here to be starting to pay attention to a entry or an exit signal. Phenomenal stuff. Anyway, I could go on, and I do all day long. So be sure to come and join us over on our Discord channel. There is a link down in the description below this video. Will be great to see you there. We'll greet you as you arrive. Cheers, and I'll sign off for this episode with another bit of appreciation for the people who are supporting this channel and making it possible. Cheers. Until tomorrow's episode of the 24 Hours of Bitcoin.